Hello, everybody, and welcome back to MSB Weekly. I'm Gotkin, and today we've got a bit of an interesting episode. It's not going to be our normal one where each person kind of talks about their own subject and then we all talk about it together. Instead, this time each person is just going to talk about it and then we'll move on. That's because we are not live on Zoom today. Just a lot of stuff going on, but yeah, let's get started. So I'll start off talking about Washington football team and the Wizards, and then we'll talk about some Caps, Maryland basketball, and the Ravens. So the Wizards currently 3-8. They won their last game against the Phoenix Suns 128-107. That was their first home win of the season, and obviously we are pretty far into the season at this point, and it's been a struggle for the Wizards so far. Thomas Bryant recently tore his ACL. He's out for the year. Russell Westbrook's had some injury issues, and yeah, just not a great year so far for the Wizards. Bradley Beal has just gone completely off. He is having one hell of a season. 34 points, 9 assists, 8 rebounds against the Suns in that winning game, and he has been a big reason for how good the team has been this year. He's averaging 35 points this year, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. So he has really just been the star of this team. He is having a hell of a year, as I said. He's become one of the best players in the NBA this season, and he's a big part of this team. They're really going to have to make a big turnaround, and they cannot just rely on Beal scoring. Beal leads the league in scoring at 35. Behind him, the next guy is Steph Curry at 28.6. So Beal really needs to keep doing what he's doing, and then other guys have to step it up. Hachimura, just a rookie, but he's got to step it up. Hachimura has to step it up. Avdija, just a rookie, he has to step it up. Bertans, he's shooting well, 6 for 9 against the Suns, but he's got to keep playing better. Bonga's got to play better. Mo Wagner's got to play better with Robin Lopez now starting. He's got to step things up. But yeah, injuries have really hurt this team, and they're going to have to keep going, fighting through it. But without Thomas Bryant, things are going to be a lot harder. They're going to need Westbrook back, and maybe they can end up making a push towards the playoffs as the season goes on. But, it's not going to be easy. Right now, they are 5th in the Southeast Division. But, yeah, things not going well for the Wizards this year. Next, Washington football team. I'm not going to go too in-depth to them. I already did our recap over on Twitter, over on, Periscope, technically. On the DC side of Maryland Sports Twitter. You can go watch that. That's more in-depth. I'm going to do some off-season stuff here later at another time, but just quick recap. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Washington football team 31-23 in the wild card playoff game. Taylor Heineke absolutely went off. 306 passing yards for him, 1 touchdown. He also had 46 rushing yards, led the team in rushing and 1 rushing touchdown. He was great. I guess all I'll talk about here is not even a game recap, but just what are they going to do at quarterback? You have to bring Heineke back, I think, just for training camp. He says that he loves the team. He says that he wants to keep playing for Rivera. I think you have to just let him go up against other guys. I think you put him up against Kyle Allen, and either Tyrod Taylor or Marcus Mariota would be my third quarterback, or you dump Kyle Allen and draft a guy and then have those 3 compete. But whatever it is, I don't think they're going to get a star. I don't think they'll get Stafford or Watson. I think they're going to have 2-3 guys who are all good enough to be a mid-tier to bottom-tier NFL starter and compete and have them make each other better and have the top one come out and be hopefully a top 15 starter in this league. And maybe it'll be Heineke. Maybe he will have a great story in the NFL, become the next Kurt Warner. But you never know. You never know if it was just a 1-game thing. He's started 2 games in his NFL career, and he's gotten hurt in both games. So maybe his durability will be an issue. Kyle Allen got hurt. But, yeah, we never know what's going to happen. Marcus Mariota is actually my number 1 pick. He's the guy who I want the most. But, yeah, this offseason will be interesting for Washington. Like I said, I'll talk about this a lot more in depth. But this game showed their flaws on defense and what they're going to have to fix. It showed their flaws on offense, too. There's a lot of holes in this team, but they're not that hard of holes to fill, and they can fill them and become a really dominant team next year in the NFL if they really are going to go all in. If you look at their schedule for next year, I'm not saying they will at all, but it's possible their ceiling to go 13-3. Expectation 11-5 or 12-4. Their floor is going to be around 8-8 or 7-9. It's not going to be an easy schedule, but with one of the best defenses, maybe they can fight through it. Hopefully their offense becomes better. They're going to need a top second receiver. Corey Davis is my number one pick for that. I think he'll complement Terry McLaurin really well. I think they're going to still need to get a slot guy. Steven Sims is not it. His hands just are not good enough. I don't care how good of a catch that was in the end zone. Steven Sims can't be it. Cam Sims can be a backup receiver, but I don't think he's good enough to be your number two. And that's all I have for the Washington football team. Really short, so let's go send it over to Ben Strober, who's going to talk some Caps.
Happy Monday, Terp Nation. After an absolute brutal week, suffering painful losses to Michigan, Indiana, and getting embarrassed at home to Iowa, Maryland found a way to secure victory over number 12 Illinois last night. Maryland's gone 2-3 over their last 5 games while playing number 6, 16, 23, number 5, and number 12 teams in the country. It's an absolute death march of a schedule. And guess what? It's not going to get any easier. Up next, they've got Nebraska, Michigan, Minnesota, and Wisconsin looking for revenge. Maryland's got to find a way to start containing the big men of the Big Ten, as Dickinson, Jackson Davis, Garza, and Kofi Coburn all scored plus 20 against the Terps over these past few weeks. Galen Smith is doing everything he can to try to contain these guys, but it's an absolute brutal ask. Their answer so far is 35, as in 35% shot percentage from beyond the arc. When Maryland shoots over 35% from three-point range, they've been able to find victory. When they shoot under 35 from distance, they lose. It's that simple. With Eric Ayala being out due to injury, look for Dante Scott and Aaron Wiggins, who's been coming out of his shell recently, to start taking over on the Terps offense, specifically looking at Wiggins. I know Morcell had the big victory last night, and it was inspiring. However, Wiggins has been the answer. He's starting to get momentum towards the basket. He's starting to elevate over his opponents, and when he gets that momentum, he seems to be a much better shooter. He's not the same catch and shoot guy that we originally thought he was going to be, but instead he's starting to take advantage of his athleticism. Look for Maryland to continue to look to those guys going into these final games and to continue their path on this brutal Big Ten schedule.
To start things off, we're going to talk about the new direction that this team's heading in right now. So obviously last year, after the season was shut down, the Capitals were bounced out of the round-robin tournament early in the first round by the Islanders in 5 games. Overall, just a really disappointing series for them. I mean, they were just outplayed in mostly every game except for, game 4 they won, and then they were easily defeated in game 5. And then Todd Reirden was obviously let go after his second season of losing the first round of the playoffs. So then the Capitals hired Peter Laviolette, who, is a proven coach and someone that they feel like they can win with. But this season, it'll be a lot different because now only 4 teams through the division will be making the playoffs in the new East format. And so it's going to be a lot more difficult for the Capitals to make the playoffs this season, but I think they're confident with the talent they have in Laviolette that they can be a playoff team. So basically, some new keys are the main point this season that's going to be a very big question mark is goaltender. So after Holtby left for Vancouver in free agency, it seemed pretty clear that Lundqvist, who they signed, he's old, but he's also a very good goalkeeper. So they signed him, but he announced in December that he's not going to be playing because of a heart surgery, so that's very unfortunate for them. That's going to make Samsonov probably taking most of the starting reps with either Phoenix Copley or Craig Anderson, but it's going to be unclear if Samsonov's going to be the guy. He's wasn't very able to prove himself last season. If any of the other guys can't step up and be a good starting goalkeeper, that's going to be a huge blow for them, and that could be very detrimental, especially for their defense. Defensively, they did add Zdeno Chara from free agency from Boston. Obviously, he's also very old, but I think Chara's also, a long-time great player. They also added Connor Sheary, Justin Schultz, Trevor Van Riemsdyk, and Paul Dude. These guys are all really good players. I think they can really help make this team improve. Obviously, losing Braden Holtby was probably one of the most, harmful things for this team, especially, Holtby was such a long-tenured player here, and then he's a pretty solid goalkeeper, so that's going to be pretty hard to replace for them. Some of the most interesting points for them this year is going to be seeing how Ovechkin is going to play. Obviously, Ovechkin is now 35 years old, but he once again was he was the reigning co-Richard Trophy winner. And I mean, last year before the season was shut down, I mean, he had 48 goals, and he was on pace for, possibly 55, 60 goals, which is incredible, especially he's not even a young player anymore, and he was putting up goals at a traumatic pace. Jacob Vrana is also going to be a huge player for them, coming off back-to-back 20-plus goal seasons, and he's also going to be due for an extension this summer. So it's going to be very important for him to have a great season this year and earn his extension. He did not perform very well in the playoffs the past season, so they're going to look for a lot more production out of him this year. So the Capitals are still open in the Stanley Cup window, which is why they hired Peter Laviolette. So he was with 5.5 seasons with the Predators. He took over as a veteran team. He's the second coach in the Ovechkin era hired by the Capitals who's not in the first NHL coaching job. So the Capitals aren't obviously getting any younger. They're mostly older guys. And, the guys they've picked up in free agency have also been older guys. So it's going to be very important for this veteran leadership to help bring them together and, hopefully make another run towards the Stanley Cup championship. So Ovechkin obviously will still be chasing Gretzky all-time goals, trying to earn his most points. But I think also guys like TJ Oshie and Nicholas Backstrom are going to be very important pieces for them this year. Capitals are opening the season as plus 2,000 betting odds. So, obviously they're not the heavy favorites this year, but with the talent that they have and second coach in the Ovechkin era hired by the Capitals who's not in the first NHL coaching job. So the Capitals aren't obviously getting any younger. They're mostly older guys. And, the guys they've picked up in free agency have also been older guys. So it's going to be very important for this veteran leadership to help bring them together and, hopefully make another run towards the Stanley Cup championship. So Ovechkin obviously will still be chasing Gretzky all-time goals, trying to earn his most points. But I think also guys like TJ Oshie and Nicholas Backstrom are going to be very important pieces for them this year. Capitals are opening the season as plus 2,000 betting odds. So, obviously they're not the heavy favorites this year, but with the talent that they have and obviously a new coach, it's going to be very interesting to see how the team comes together. And will they gel early? Are they going to struggle? But overall, my prediction, I think they are going to be, a very solid team this year. I think they're going to make the playoffs. I'm not really sure what will happen from there, but I think they're easily talented enough to make the playoffs and, be a very solid team, especially in the New East.
Brian Hradsky, owner and founder of MSB MarylandSportsBlog.com. I'm here to do the recap for the Ravens-Titans game. It was the first playoff game, first playoff win for Lamar Jackson on the road in Tennessee. The Ravens won 20-13. It did not start off well. The Ravens were down 10-0. Lamar threw an interception early. Things were not looking good, but the Ravens just woke up. They did what they do best. They ran the ball and ran the ball and ran the ball for 236 total yards. Meanwhile, they kept Derrick Henry, probably one of, if not the best running back in the league, to 40 yards on 18 carries, and only let the Titans run for 51 yards. Ryan Tannehill, he only threw for 158 yards. Marcus Peters ended the game with an interception. Just an all-around great team win for the Baltimore Ravens. They really came together, and, the Titans have had their number. They beat them earlier this season. They beat them at home in the playoffs last season when the Ravens had the bye. Lamar Jackson, his passing numbers weren't great, but, he had 0 touchdowns and 1 interception. He was sacked 5 times, but he got the job done. 17 for 24 passing, only 179 yards, but that's all they needed. Again, they just ran the ball very well. Lamar himself had 136 yards. He had a 48-yard rushing touchdown. That was just an outstanding run by him. Dobbins played very well. Gus Edwards not just ran the ball well, but on a couple of Lamar Jackson's big plays, he was the lead blocker. Like, he was essentially almost playing like a fullback position for Lamar. And Gus Edwards, like, I can't say enough good things about him. He's just a hard worker. I've liked him since he's been a rookie. He plays smash mouth football. He is a perfect running back for this team. And I really do hope the Ravens lock him up for like a 3 to 4 year deal. It's not going to be that much money. Marquise Hollywood Brown had a really good game. 7 receptions for over 100 yards. He played very well. He was physical, which is not like him, but he was working for those extra yards and the extra inches. Mark Andrews had a solid game. Another unsung guy, Patrick Ricard, had a very good game. One drive seemed like it was all him. He had 3 receptions, only 26 yards, but I mean, those were gutsy yards, just like Gus Edwards, who made some first down plays in which he should have been stopped like 3 yards short. Patrick Ricard was just bulldozing people, and yeah, he just had a great game. Willie Snead had 2 receptions for only 9 yards, but they all played their roles. Dobbins blocked, Boykin blocked very, very well. Just an overall great team win. It wasn't flashy. It was just smash mouth, old school football. It reminded me of the old Ray Lewis and Eddie George days. Like, they just, were going after each other, hitting each other. Deshaun Elliott just had some really good plays, which, this kid hits. Deshaun Elliott has played very well this season. Another one of those unsung guys. Like, his numbers aren't flashy, but he can put a bruising on some guys, including Derrick Henry. So, yeah, great team win. The Ravens are right now. It's already looking like the Steelers and Browns game is over. So when this is published, it's probably the Ravens are probably going to be going to the Buffalo Bills because Cleveland's the lowest seed. Cleveland will be going to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. The Ravens are likely. We're doing this video, so the last time I checked, it was 21-0 Cleveland, all Cleveland, really quick. The Steelers just are not that good. They beat the Ravens twice, but it was like a COVID game, and both times they got favorable calls from the refs. Oh, and by the way, in this game, the Titans had some really favorable calls. They had their first touchdown. They literally put the Brown, the wide receiver, A.J. Brown, literally pushed down Marlon Humphrey, and they didn't call offensive pass interference. And then later in the game, Willie Snead grazed a guy. He was trying to get out of his way, and they called him for offensive pass interference. So, yeah, there were some really bad calls that went the Titans' way. So, the Ravens beat them and the refs. But yeah, it's looking like the Ravens are going to go face Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. It should be a really good game. The Ravens have played the Bills pretty well the past few years. So we will see. Unless the Steelers somehow make a comeback, then the Ravens will be going to face the Chiefs. But again, it doesn't look like that's going to happen. So stay tuned. We'll have all the coverage on MSB. And thanks for watching, and thanks for reading our content. Thank you.